Hi, welcome back to the Biblical Preaching Podcast. It's good to be with you again, and I am very glad to say that I'm joined by Peter. Hello.
Hello, Michael.
Now, that might not seem weird to you guys because we've been releasing episodes most weeks for the last few months, but I haven't seen you for 3 months, going on 3 months.
Yeah.
We've been able to do a few episodes before you left, and we wanted to, now you're back, to explain where you were and why and what you were doing, and just talk a bit about the benefits of having a sabbatical, because that's where you've been.
A sabbatical. It sounds very official, doesn't it? In fact, it was completely official. It was.
Yes, it was.
It was authorised. It was allowed. So 3 months away from home and away from all ministry responsibilities.
They're completely off grid.
Like, we barely texted, and
I
text all the time.
Yeah. So we survived. Our friendship survived.
We're still friends.
We're still friends. So we wanted to sort of talk a little bit and give you a chance to share a little bit, Peter, about the kind of the thinking behind it, why you wanted one, why you needed one, maybe, what the hopes and goals were, but also just with the thinking, not just to share your experience of it, but to share your sort of vision for maybe why people in full-time ministry, preaching ministry particularly, should consider having a sabbatical. So that's the idea behind our
sounds good.
Our talking. So
let's do it.
Where did the idea? I don't think, not necessarily biblically, but where did the idea come from for you guys to have? And also it's important to say that it wasn't. Well, we could talk about this more actually, but I'm just thinking it's not just you having a sabbatical.
Right.
Your whole family.
Yes.
Was a time for all of you guys.
I know that. Important. I mean, some people, by necessity, I suspect, because of children in school or spouse in employment, have to do a sabbatical from home. And I get that. If that's what you have to do, that's what you have to do. We didn't have to do that, and so we had the freedom to be somewhere else. So we chose to be somewhere else in order to be properly switched off and disconnected from people, from responsibilities, and even just from jobs that need doing. Yeah. If we were around our house, well, this is a good time to fix that, or to pretend I know what I'm doing with tools and stuff. And so we said, no, it's going to be much better for us if we get away. And so we did. We went to the US of A for 3 months, and I can explain why and stuff. But that's kind of the approach we took. And also, sometimes people talk about sabbaticals where they take a break from work and do other work. Yeah. And I get that. A change can be as good as a rest, in quotes, but it's not as good as a rest if your goal is to rest. And so for us, it was really like, let's really switch off. Let's not go somewhere else and end up preaching. Let's not go somewhere else and teach a course or write a book. So, I mean, I opened my laptop a handful of times in 3 months. Yeah. It was properly switched off. In fact, the first place we stayed, no Wi-Fi, no phone signal. Wow. That was eerie.
Yeah, completely.
The world is quiet.
It's like 90s all over again.
It's like the old days. So where did the idea come from? Not from us. We've been in full-time ministry for 21 years, something like that. Never crossed our minds. And the leadership of our church kindly suggested, offered it. It wasn't like, you need this. It was, we think this would be wise. And I think there was a part of us that said, oh yeah, that'd be great. There was honestly a part of me that was a bit daunted by it. Like, I kind of like the rhythm of life. I'm not sure I want to, have to face that. But honestly, once we got there, I think both my wife and I both found, wow, we really needed this. And we discovered how much we needed it only by entering into it.
And I think possibly that's something which would kind of, we'd want to encourage other people to have, almost to think about having a sabbatical before you actually need it.
Yes.
Like, that's the actual, if you want to have particularly a sabbatical of rest, rather than like a work break where you stop doing some, like you said, you stop doing some work, but you go and do some other work. Like, you go and, you're not preaching, but you're studying full time, or you're writing full time. Yeah. That's a very different type of sabbatical, maybe not even a sabbatical.
No, it's a good thing, but let's give it a different name.
But I think, like you said, it's much healthier to have this kind of rest before
You're in a crisis.
you're in a crisis and you think, man, I really need this. And,
Yeah.
you know, and I think that's important to say that, yeah, you were going into it, yeah, not in an emergency, and
Yeah.
that just makes everything much more healthy.
Absolutely. And it's interesting that the fact that I can now look back and say, I didn't realize how much I needed this. Therefore, by implication, everyone listening going, yeah, I probably don't need that. You don't know.
Yeah.
Because I would have said, yeah, I would have I wouldn't have been opposed to the idea, you know, so yeah, that could have some benefits, but I wasn't jumping at it. I wasn't chomping at the bit to get it. But once I was in it, it's actually quite hard to leave it. It was such a blessing to enjoy, you know, so many elements of it. And then we were excited to come home. We love our church. We love our normal life and our, you know, friends here. But there was definitely I don't know. I'm not sure we're ready. Not sure we want to leave this yet.
Yeah, like a real value to
Really
to
special.
what you're doing. So, what were you sort of thinking again? Because having a sabbatical, but then it's not just. Well, I guess it can be, but for you guys, it wasn't just let's go to the beach for 3 months. There was a real intentionality, which I think probably to rest well. And in a healthy way, there probably needs to be something that you need to intentionally rest. It's not just stop doing everything and sit on the sofa.
We intentionally placed ourselves somewhere we don't know people.
Yeah.
So that was on purpose.
That's part of it, yeah.
So, you know, we go to the USA every couple of years, but we didn't go to those parts.
Yeah.
Didn't go to places that would say, "Oh, can you preach?"
Yeah.
You know, or anything like that, or even, you know, can we do breakfast? We really put ourselves in places we've never been before, and also we chose places. Honestly, two criteria. One was, where's there accommodation available for missionaries that we can afford? You know, it wasn't a case of let's, you know, find a hotel for 3 months.
Yeah.
But also, where are those places where we're kind of in creation rather than in urban America, for the most part. I mean, having said that, we started in Dallas, ended in Chicago, and spent time in Tulsa. But you know, it was kind of where can we be out in the sticks, out in creation. And so had some really special time in places where there was just countryside and woods and
that's wonderful.
Wild animals.
You were so the intentionality and the sort of protecting of space for family and time for family.
Yeah.
How did you plan to use that?
So I think if you were going on your own for 3 months, we had 3 months, you wouldn't if you have family, that would be insane. But if you were planning for just yourself, then you could plan as if you have 15 hours a day to do absolutely nothing, or to read or to pray or whatever. With wife and 2 children, which is what we were, there's rhythms of life. There's meals, there's times together, and it was kind of figuring out, okay, what's a sort of a rhythm where we can give time to our children, make memories together, connect with them, give them the attention, because you know we've got older children that weren't with us because they've moved out and they're adults now, but they were saying to the younger 2, we never had a sabbatical. You know? And just say, actually, this is a real privilege for you guys. So they had some schoolwork to do, but you know, making sure that they weren't just pushed aside so that we could have our sabbatical. It was like, no, it was a sabbatical together. And then working out, okay, I need time on my own. My wife needs time on her own. We need time together. We need time together as a 4, time together as a 2. And so, we sort of felt our way. And really, apart from let's find a church and attend a church on Sunday, the rest of the week was really clear.
Okay.
You know, no responsibilities, no meetings, no people to see, you know, no sort of social life. It was like everything was sort of stripped away, which I think actually then allowed for the quiet, it allowed for the rest, it allowed for the reading, the thinking, the praying, the processing to take place. You know, and it's so easy to have a life structured and then to do what matters in the gaps. You know, I was reading a book, read lots of books, a book I really enjoyed called The Unhurried Pastor. And the authors of that were saying, you know, spending time in the Word, spending time in prayer, and spending time in contemplation, that is your job. And yet, those are the things that get squeezed by the busyness of actually doing your job. And so, yeah, for 3 months, not the entire time, there was some elements that was visiting family, you know, and that sort of thing. But for chunks of time, I actually had space to read the Bible, pray, and contemplate. And that was a real gift, real blessing.
And to be able to do that together with family, I want to highlight and underline that again, is that ministry. I think it's easy, and probably typically, you know, you're the one preaching, so it's your ministry, and you need a rest from your ministry of preaching. Obviously, your ministry is more than just that, but just like it's your thing. But actually, ministry is like you do ministry, your wife does ministry, but your ministry, sort of you doing ministry, has an impact on Melanie and your marriage, and certainly has an impact on the kids. And so actually to have that time all together that's not by accident, like that's designed, because actually it, you know, if the ministry is for all of you, there's an impact on all of you, then the sabbatical, the rest needs to be for all of you to connect or reconnect or refresh, you know,
and we were in a position to do that, to get away and to have that time, and it was honestly such a blessing. And I think it's important to recognize, you know, whatever the circumstance that someone's in, like I said, I recognize that not everyone can just do what we did, but one of the reasons why a sabbatical is a good idea is because life kind of is so intertwined, you know. So I've got my work life, you know, preparing sermons and all the stuff of pastoring. I've also got my family life, marriage and parenting. I've also got my friends that I interact with and spend time with and care about. And for most people, those are three separate categories. Obviously, family and friendships can overlap, but generally speaking, what's happening in your family doesn't affect your workplace. You know, if you're a doctor, if you're a police officer, whatever, you know, most normal jobs, there's a separation. If you're in pastoral ministry, your marriage affects your ministry affects your marriage. You know, your friends that you care about often are the people that you're pastoring and caring for. And so if something goes wrong in one area, it affects all three areas. And so that kind of always on kind of reality, therefore creates the extra need, I would say, for a genuinely off time, if that makes sense. You know, if I'm having a struggle in my marriage and I work at a hospital or I work at the university, they might care, but I don't lose my job over it.
Yeah.
But if I tank my marriage in ministry, I've lost my income, I've lost my reputation, I've lost everything. And so that kind of integrated life, which is such a, I would say, a blessing, you know, to pastor and care for people I love and be cared for by people I love, and to have my children in the church loving it, you know, and to genuinely love my job, and, you know, for all those things to be integrated is just a huge blessing. But to be able to step away and say, okay, let's strip out the responsibilities, the WhatsApp groups, the communications, the finger on the pulse of so many things, just be completely out of touch, is such a gift.
Yeah.
You know, because we can then come back healthy, strong, better. It's not, oh, glad to get away from it. No, I love these people.
Yeah.
But glad to get away from it because I don't know how to phrase this other than to say, I am not first and foremost a minister of the gospel. I am first and foremost a child of God and Melanie's husband and their dad. Do you see what I mean? And so to have all the ministry stuff taken off, it's a nice, healthy reminder that I am not indispensable.
Yeah.
The church is perfectly capable of thriving without me, and it generally does. But also, my own kind of identity can't be wrapped up in that if I'm not doing it. You know, it's not, well, I'm having a tough moment right now, but Sunday I'm going to preach. No, you know, who am I?
Yeah.
You know, just to strip that right back and go, who am I? Well, I'm a child of God, and I'm Melanie's husband, and I'm the driver for this trip, and I'm the I'm washing up after this meal. It's like, oh, we're right back to basics.
Yeah.
And that's super healthy. I mean, I knew that. I knew that ahead of time. That's something that I could have explained, I could have taught about, I could have written an essay about. But honestly, I haven't experienced it because I've been go, go, go
Yeah.
for 20 years.
That must have, in some way, affected how you were reading the Bible and praying. Because as much as we want to be and try to be people who read God's word for him, like for its own blessing of kind of reading from him, it's really hard when you know you've got to preach
Yeah.
something, or when you're hearing preaching or reading a book, you can think, well, I'm reading this just for my own sake. That's a really good phrase. I need to write that down for next month. That is just a natural thing that we do all the time.
Yep.
But if you kind of what you're describing is you're stripping away that next event, like so much of my prayer requests, like I share more prayer requests like in our kind of home Bible study group when I've got something next weekend and I'm like, can you pray for this next weekend? And then when I don't have that, I'm like, I don't know what to pray for. But you didn't have that for 3 months, so
Right.
just how that must have changed how you were reading, how you were praying.
Yeah, both. I spoke to a friend, shout out to Andy in Hungary. I spoke to Andy 3-4 months ago. 4 must be more than 3 because I've been away. Before we went away, and he'd said he'd had a sabbatical and just fallen in love with the Bible again.
Okay, cool.
Which made me go, ooh, what's going to happen to me?
Yeah, could I do that too?
Yeah. And I really enjoyed the Bible during this time. It's also, it's good to kind of look in a mirror and realize I've got no excuses. And today I didn't feel like reading the Bible. It's not all roses or whatever. It's not all amazing. There was definitely up days and down days and, times of great motivation and times where it's like, where's my motivation gone? So there was that reality. But I did enjoy the Bible, and not having to think about a specific message meant that I could just enjoy it on its own terms, which I try to anyway, but I didn't need to try to.
Yeah.
And so I was able to, for example, reading through Acts and reading the second missionary journey and kind of thinking about that, and then saying, okay, let me look at the letters connected to this journey and how those relate to the journey. And then I wonder how the third missionary journey is and the letters connected to that, and just kind of pure inquisitiveness and enjoying the discovery. So yeah, some really good times in that regard. But I would say actually for me, it was more prayer that was the whoa.
Okay, interesting.
Whoa, like, thank you, Lord.
Okay.
I described it to a friend recently that before the sabbatical, my prayer life felt a bit scattered, a bit sort of here and there, a bit in the gaps, and very businessy. Lord, there's this.
Yeah.
And Lord, you got to do this, and please would you do this? And it was a bit too businessy and not enough relational, enjoying God.
Yeah. Like, give me you today.
Yeah, I need you.
Yeah.
And I'm so thankful for you and the gospel and
Yeah.
the reality of being a child of God, being in the bride of Christ, being loved by a loving God. All of the kind of things that, again, I knew and I could explain and I could write essays about. But if I looked at my prayer life, I'd have to say, a little bit businessy, a little bit rushed, and to have the space. And it wasn't immediate, but about a month in, I just felt like, whoa. And it became the highlight. It became I can't wait to get up tomorrow morning and go for a walk and pray again. And I haven't had that feeling for quite a while.
Okay.
So yeah, praying and not, I don't know how much I want to say what it wasn't, but not kind of a vague sort of mystical hearing type of praying, but just walking in creation and praying through the book of Romans or, from memory, just what other verses can I remember? Oh yeah, Lord, thank you for that.
Yeah. Like, when you said this,
Yeah.
that's really cool.
Yeah.
And that really impacts me like this. And Lord, when you said that, that really makes me think of this when you said that. It's that kind of conversational.
Exactly. It's responding to the word.
Yeah.
But it's not like, at a desk with a Bible. It's, you preach for a while, you kind of know Romans and John and, but to kind of, take the time, go through that and really take my time enjoying it, and then get to sort of the end and say, okay, I want to intercede for someone else or for something else, and to really pray for something, and then feel like, okay, I'm done. Like that's, not that I'm giving up praying, but I don't have to tick a box of going through, oh, but I've also got to pray for this and this and this and this and this.
Yeah.
No, I've prayed for these people, or I've prayed for this situation, or I've prayed for this world situation, or I've prayed for this, building situation or whatever. I've prayed for it, and now I'm done. And that's been a real highlight, and I can't wait till tomorrow morning to do it again.
Yeah.
That's been a real gift.
That's really cool.
I took lots of books, and we accumulated books. I don't know how we accumulated so much stuff. It's ridiculous. But part of that was buying books. And one of the books I took with me, I've had on my shelf for years, right?
Okay.
And it's something like 50 Christians, or 50 people every Christian should know. It's like a whole series of little mini biographies by Warren Wiersbe. It's been on my shelf. I should read that. Anyway, so I read it. And, it's like Martin Luther's wife and, whatever. Just actually, it seemed like a lot of British pastors from the early 1900s, which was kind of interesting. Obviously Wiersbe had his heroes, like the guy who replaced Spurgeon, or J.H. Jowett, famous name in preaching circles, or Alexander MacLaren, Alexander White, all these kind of people. People I just go, oh yeah, I've seen the name. Don't know anything about them.
Right.
And then just to read 4 or 5 pages and prayerfully reflect and move on. And one of the things that came out, in fact, the only thing that came out multiple times in that book, was several of these guys who were pastoring significant churches, if that's the way to put it, in various parts of Britain 100 years ago. Several of them interacted with somebody. I should look up who it was. Alexander MacLaren, Alexander White, I don't know. One of those guys. And he gave them the advice to take a 2-month holiday every summer.
Wow, okay.
Okay, so now obviously Victorian and
time,
post-Victorian Britain is probably a different world than now. But I was reading that at the start of what was going to be a 3-month break. And so it kind of resonated with me. And he said to these guys, you take 2 months off in the summer, your church will thank you for it, because your preaching will be so much better. Okay. Just, go away to the seaside or whatever they did in those days, read the Bible because you want to, breathe sea air, take a break. And then for the 10 months you're at home, preach your heart out. And again, I'm not saying that any church should implement a 2-month summer holiday plan for their preachers, although it might not be a bad idea. But as preachers, I think it's good for us to go, no, I shouldn't just keep squeezing out another message. Maybe I need to think about, when do I stop? When do I breathe? When do I read the Bible? When do I pray? When do I recharge? Because I think a lot of us are good at kind of just doing more, just keeping on going. Now, that's true for people in ministry who are being paid for it, because you can feel like, well, the church is watching, I should be busy. It's also true for people who aren't paid for it and are doing it in their spare time because they're working a full-time job and in their spare time are doing ministry. Either way, it's a recipe for work hard and burn out. And so just taking stock and saying, no, actually, I may not be in the 1910s anymore. I may not have a 2-month holiday option. 3-month sabbatical might be an impossibility. But where can I get a genuine break where I switch off and strip away the preacher, pastor, minister, strip all that away, and it's me and my Father and his word, and that's it. I think that's important. I think that's something we should all pray about, ponder, and if you have any way of influencing what others get, even in maybe you're listening to this and you're thinking, well, I'm not even the pastor in my church. Well, think about helping your pastor to get a break, because you will be better off for it as a result.
It's like the sabbatical isn't the solution, but the solution is being with Jesus. But a sabbatical can help and serve that purpose. So again, you said that not everyone in a church can have a sabbatical. If you work in a school, or can I have 3 months for sabbatical? No, but it's not that the sabbatical is the silver bullet to profitable, healthy ministry, but it's a pointer to actually the important thing is holding on to the gospel yourself and loving Jesus yourself.
Yeah.
And yeah, if you're able to sort of have a long time to do that, then great, go for it. But if you're not, well, actually all of us can think, well, what rest do I need?
Yeah.
And it might be, a shorter season where you're still in your employment, but you're a season of not preaching or not doing whatever the ministry is. And it's not, again, sabbatical is not the magic bullet.
Or even, do I genuinely take a day off every week?
Or weekly.
And we traditionally, I've not been particularly good at that. My wife's been far more diligent, and I've been, keep going. The last year or so, I've been much more guarding, deliberately protective of my one day off, which helped, I think, set me up for the sabbatical. But now, having had the sabbatical, my Mondays, in my case,
even more.
It's like I know what it feels like to be off. I know what it feels like to just spend time with God and not be thinking about ministry stuff. Lord, help me today to get another taste of that.
Yeah.
To just be a little bit more deliberate on that. So yeah, you're right. It's not, the sabbatical is a hypothetical for a lot of people, but the one day off a week, or you need to get away for a couple of nights as a couple and talk about your marriage, or you're going on holiday, are you going to turn your phone off?
Yeah.
Or are you going to still be, on the quiet,
Directing.
keeping things going?
Yeah.
There's kind of implications in many directions, but honestly, we're not indispensable, any of us. And so by faith, give that stuff over to God and trust him to, by faith, trust God to handle it and go to sleep.
Yeah.
Sometimes we don't even do that,
Yeah.
By faith, take a day off and see if things aren't actually better rather than worse. So yeah, lots of implications.
One of the things that came to our mind, to think about this, was some verses in Titus 1, which they're not really at all about a sabbatical at all, but it kind of talks about.
Let me read the
leadership
verse.
And elders. Yeah.
Let me read the verse, Mike, and then you flag what it was you were thinking. So this is Titus 1:9. This is the end of the elder qualifications list in verses 6-9. So it's talking about he, the elder. Okay, so he must hold firm to the trustworthy word as taught, so that he may be able to give instruction in sound doctrine and also to rebuke those who contradict it. So it's kind of that, you're coming to the end of the list of qualifications. It's talked about family, it's talked about response to stress, if you like. And it's like, okay, how about handling of scripture? To be able to encourage or instruct, to build up using the word of God, also to be able to rebuke or refute where needed those who contradict it. Those are the two outcomes of the first part. He must hold firm to the trustworthy word as taught.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And I think that comes to mind thinking about your sabbatical and kind of a healthy sabbatical, is that it seems it doesn't suggest a priority, but I kind of feel a priority in that it's, a healthy leader will confront and a healthy leader will encourage, but actually a really healthy leader will hold firm themselves. They will themselves be gripped and grip Jesus, who is the good news. And so often when trouble comes, or when we're looking for what to do, we'll focus on those outward things. Okay, well, I need to be better at encouraging or better at whatever. But actually, no, let's have time. Whether it's, like you say, a day a week, a number of weeks in a year, or a number of months every few years.
And also just the daily,
absolutely.
in the word.
Yeah, exactly. Like that feels to me just an absolute priority that anyone in any sort of hint of Christian ministry, Christian leadership in any sense, they need to that needs to be what we like. We need to be characterized by holding firm ourselves.
Brilliant. I think that's a natural stopping point. So how about we stop there? We end this episode, but then we can do another one and talk about visiting churches.
Yeah.
That'd be fun.
We'll do that. So for now, we'll say goodbye for now, and please join us again on a future episode.
Thanks for joining us today. We really appreciate every positive review, like, share, and comment. And thank you for praying for us. We hope you will join us again next time on the Biblical Preaching Podcast.